All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about Alanah Pearce again. Now, the Alanah Pearce stuff has absolutely blown up beyond all proportions. I honestly can't believe that this has gone so viral, and yet here we are talking about Alanah Pearce again. Now, the reason we're talking about it again is because Santa Monica Studio finally, like I said in my last video, nobody had come out and said anything regarding Alanah Pearce working for them, but Santa Monica Studio, the official account that ironically says, God of War Ragnarok, by the way, has come out and said that Alanah Pearce has indeed worked with them for 4 years, and that she was talented, creative, and hardworking contributor to their team that they were fortunate to have and the opportunity to work with. And yet, they never credited her. They never mentioned her. She is still to this day an uncredited writer when every other writer there has been credited. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said in my last video, I found it odd that none of these studios came out and actually said anything about whether or not she worked for them or to confirm that notion. But I understand some studios don't want to be involved in internet drama. Totally get that. But Alanah Pearce says that she was a writer for Santa Monica for 4 years. And people are not calling out whether or not she was employed. People are calling out whether or not she was actually involved in any video game writing. It's very clear that she was not credited on anything, and this is the problem that people have. You can have Santa Monica Studio come out and say these things, which honestly says absolutely fucking nothing aside from what we already knew, but the simple fact of the matter is, if she was so talented, if she was so creative, and if she was so hardworking and a contributor to your team, why didn't you credit her for literally anything? It's very odd to me. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, listen, I want to preface this by saying this. I understand there is a lot of simps for Alanah Pearce, and trust me, I cannot blame you, okay? There is no doubt about it that she is a good-looking woman. However, I understand if you want to simp, but I need you to genuinely just listen to what I'm saying. Don't you simps find it odd that someone supposedly worked for a company and wrote on video games, okay? These are video games that credit even the most standard, simple position. They will put that position, they even put playtesters in there as well. Like, you guys realize that the writers would easily be credited. There's no doubt about it. And for some odd reason, for the 4 years that she was there, she was not credited for a single thing. Absolutely nothing. She supposedly worked on all these video games, and yet she was not credited for anything. Don't you simps find that to be extremely odd? Don't you find it to be extremely odd? Back in 2020, she posted the following: "Hi everyone, I'm finally allowed to announce my new job as a video game writer at Santa Monica Studios, who you probably know as a studio who makes God of War." By the way, she can't write her fucking tweets at all. So the fact that you want me to believe that this woman is a writer for video games when she could barely put together a sentence in her tweets, yeah, I'm calling highly fucking sus. I don't care how mad you get at me. She says, "I am so proud to be part of this incredible team." And ironically, again, a picture that she points to her tits of Santa Monica Studio. So then you have people like, I think one of the CEOs or something like that comments on this, but let's continue. "Oh my God, thank you all so much for the love today. I'm so honored to have even the tiniest little hand. Seriously, very small. I'm just a junior on the absolute incredible medium that is video games." So people are questioning how she even got there in the first place, considering her experience, but that's besides the point. So you got all the people in the world making comments. Even Herman Holtz made a comment. The CEO, Herman Holtz, made a comment, said, "Welcome aboard, Alanah. Glad you're part of the team." She says, "Thank you so much, Herman. Congrats on a new role," from Phil Spencer. "Thank you, Phil." So she's got all these connections, and people are wondering how exactly did she get these, considering she's a junior with minimal experience, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so Santa Monica Studio came out and said this. Now, there's something I want to show you guys. She ended up thanking someone called Bruno. Now, mind you, this comment came from the Santa Monica Studio official account. Why are you thanking somebody called Bruno when it's from the official account is beyond me. Then Bruno ended up responding, ironically, where you see Bruno Velasquez says, "Of course, it was a great working with you, Alanah." Bro, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for what I'm about to say because I know it's going to upset the simps. I get it. But this shit is highly suspicious to me. It is highly suspicious. And let me explain why. Again, I don't understand how you are supposedly a writer on these video games and you have not been credited once for anything for the 4 years of work that you were there over at Santa Monica Studios. It's very clear this woman is very well connected. For however she did that, that's up to you to decide. But she's very well connected within the gaming industry, where she has Phil Spencer and fucking Herman Holt, both CEOs, commenting on her position and whatnot. I find that to be highly sus. But again, Bruno Velasquez says, of course, it was great working with you, Alanah. Now, I don't understand why. Is he the person who's in charge? If you look here, oh, that's interesting. Bruno Velasquez, game director on God of War Ragnarok, and works at Sony Santa Monica Studios. So he's the game director over at God of War Ragnarok. That's interesting, considering that people were asking whether or not she worked on God of War Ragnarok. That's something that she heavily implied in a couple of posts, which we're going to go over here. Shout out to Smash JT for these screenshots. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you guys can follow along. Wow, this is terrible. Low resolution. Anyway, I could read it. Alanah Pearce says, this title scenario writer does not exist within the company. So actually, nobody is called that. But I write scenarios and create main quest lines. All the shit you, for some reason, without having any way of knowing, think I don't do. Then Long Neck Man, again, called out the fact that he says narrative director, writing lead would be the scenario writer. Just different wording. What part are you credited for? So it was here that she heavily implied that she was writing on God of War Ragnarok because she was defending her notion as to the reason why she was not credited on God of War Ragnarok. And I understand the simps are out there saying she never said she worked on God of War. I understand that. But you guys got to understand as well the implication is here right now. If you are defending yourself as to why you were not credited on a game called God of War Ragnarok, then people are going to think that you are saying that you were a writer on God of War Ragnarok. You cannot then turn around years later and say, well, I never said I was a writer on God. You clearly fought for the notion. You fought for the idea. So if you're over here trying to explain to everybody why you were not credited on this game, then that's going to lead people to believe that you wrote on this game and you weren't credited for some odd reason, which again, that would never happen. So then she says, no, that's not how it works internally. All of the writers write scenarios, not just dialogue. My job is exactly what you're saying I don't do. You don't know anything about what I do or the company I work for, obviously, and it's very weird to pretend you do. Give up. Again, she's fighting this guy over being credited on God of War Ragnarok. If you never wrote for that game, then why are you fighting this man so hard? You could have just simply said, I never wrote for this game. But for some odd reason, you didn't want to do that at the time. Why that is, I don't know. And then he says, I just find it odd you weren't credited for what you say you do. Alanah says, and yet I do it full time. And again, wouldn't lie about that on Twitter where everyone I work with can see it. So here she is, again, implying that she works full time and she works on this game because she's fighting Long Neck Man over whether or not she was credited on Ragnarok. This is why people are saying, hey, you actually did imply that you worked on Ragnarok. Whether you specifically said it or not, that's something different, but you 100% implied it, and only the simps out there are going to say that you didn't. And then this person says, if someone is not credited as writer on God of War Ragnarok, they were not a writer on God of War Ragnarok. My spite for those who would accept undue credit outstrips my spite for this platform, apparently. So again, this person, even this person calls out the same exact thing about her implying that she wrote for God of War Ragnarok. So ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I want to say about this whole situation. I find it very odd that Santa Monica Studios wanted to come out and not confirm anything that she wrote on. All right. I'm not saying never said that she didn't work there. I just find it to be highly sus. I find it to be extremely sus that you're trying to say that you're a writer on these video games and yet nobody has credited you with anything. The only thing I ever heard about was a cookbook, which I don't even care about that. That's the only thing I've ever heard that you've been credited for. Aside from that, video games and whatnot, you've never been in a credit scene. Not that I've seen anyway, for the most part, especially not with Santa Monica Studios. So people are just wondering what exactly is going on. Are you actually a writer on these, video games? Well, not anymore because you don't work for them anymore. But still, were you actually a writer for Santa Monica Studios or were you not? Like, how did you get there? There's way too many questions. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.